Hello and welcome to our show. I'm your host Anya, and joining me today is Sean from support team, and this is
Hello.
Livestream with Restream.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, welcome! Super exciting. This is our monthly product show, and we are talking about all the awesome and all the best things that Restream has to offer. And today, our topic is streaming with guests and pairs. So, we are going to unpack the opportunities that you have by inviting awesome people to your live shows, streaming together, and of course, expanding your audience. So, that's the topic of our conversation. We will actually start with a quick question for you guys. We just kind of want to understand a little bit and feel the room of what's going on with you and how do you like to stream. You do you usually stream solo? So is it just you running the whole show, or do you prefer to stream with guests? Let us know in the comments. Just drop solo or with guests, multiple guest panels, whatever you guys want to share in the chat, so we can see how many people are actually hosting shows with other participants.
Ooh, I know I personally really enjoy the opportunity to connect with other people, and I really enjoy the anxiety that the other person often has in that situation where you're bringing them into your show, and so then they're out of place. So then they have to adapt. I love that feeling.
This is so amazing. I love that. Yeah, this is one of those things that when you have more experience streaming, of course, you are much more comfortable, and then you have such a variety of guests, which is something that we'll be talking about today: how to manage your guests, how to prepare your guests before the stream starts, and how to manage them when they're already in, and what cool tips and tricks we have on the restream side of things, as well as just some things that we can learn from you. And in the end of the show, super important, we have a little surprise for you. So we actually will have something that we normally don't do during live stream with Restream. So stick around till the end to participate in one of our kind of like extravagant little twists in the end of the show. Awesome comments right here. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things that folks are saying. Chris Hennessy, hi there from LinkedIn. He's saying, "Hey Anya," and then Evgeny is saying, "Solo, but I have just started." Well, welcome to the family of streaming. That's a good start. And Jim here from LinkedIn is saying usually with guests. So we have one solo, one with guests. Chris is coming back again saying, I stream with guests on weekly shows, but will occasionally do a pop up live solo. That's awesome. That's a good combo. And we have Helen. She's saying, hey guys, how are you doing? Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and this is good. So yeah, so basically, what we see here that some people start solo. A lot of people already have some cadence with guests. Sean, what do you think? What is easier, in your opinion, when you're starting to start your show with guests or to start solo?
Oh, it's always easier to start with guests. It takes half the attention and puts it on somebody else. It's been wonderful, even just in the last 30 seconds that we've been in this situation right now. I've been able to enjoy your conversation and your content that you're creating. And then you can easily pass the ball to me so that you can take a moment to collect yourself, take a sip of water while I'm giving an engaging conversation with the people who are watching. I think that by using the opportunity to have other people in the session with you, it gives the ability for a dynamic and diverse conversation without necessarily having to always come up with all of the answers right on the spot. It gives a bit of a break.
Totally, totally. Another thing that I always recommend to people who are just starting, why start with guests? Because it is such a booster for your confidence. Like if you are relatively new to live streaming, let's face it, it's no small job to set up your camera, kind of calm yourself down about all the technical hell that can happen to you. And when you have this other person in, even if they're not experienced just as you are, it is still much more comfortable to face whatever live streaming can bring to your life together, versus if you're the only person and everyone else is in the chat and you're kind of like responsible for everything, right? Like, so when you're having that as a dialogue and you're approaching that as a team, it's a little bit easier in my opinion. So that is awesome. By the way, folks, if you have any questions about Restream products, tools, features that are not related to guests and pairs, you're welcome to drop them in the chat as well. But we'll be answering as many as we can. So no worries there. Back to the chat. Eddie saying hello from Nigeria. And then there's a question from Willie. Yeah, hello. I have guests. I have a question about the Roadcaster Pro. Will I need a
Hmm.
separate piece of equipment to be able to hear my guest, and then and then for them to hear me using Restream? I think, Sean, what do you think? Do you have an answer for this one?
I do actually. So Rodecaster Pro, I believe, is an audio interface device that's actually going to be connecting microphones in a professional environment to your computer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that that's the purpose of that hardware component, typically connected via USB to your computer. So what you would want to make sure you're doing is unifying all of the audio inputs into the Restream Studio so that the audio devices that are selected in the settings of the studio are connected from the output of the Rodecaster Pro. The side note to that as well, audio isolation is always important, especially when using a high grade condenser microphone. You're really going to want to make sure that your audio is being isolated by using a pair of headphones, much like what we're using here today. And then that's where your audio is going to be coming from the guest participants or from other people in the studio. Those settings are configured in the gear icon at the bottom of the screen. Just make sure to do a little bit of testing before you hit that beautiful go live button in the top right to make sure that your settings are what you want them to be before you wind up on screen with, possibly thousands or hundreds of thousands of people watching you at one time.
Awesome. Awesome. Great, great context. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Willie. If not, feel free to elaborate on that a little bit more. We'll take a couple more before we move forward with our content. Sinol was saying, can you please turn on live chat comments on YouTube? Several people are watching on YouTube. That is true, but they are on, Sinol. We just actually took a comment from our YouTube channel, and I just did a little test. I'll show you mine just to make sure that everyone is okay. So it's working just fine. If it's not working for you, maybe refresh it a little bit, or maybe try to like open a different tab, because it sounds like it's working for other folks. But thanks for bringing that up. And Sinolfo also says I stream both myself and with guests. Great. That's always good to combine. Let's see. There are so many more stories in here. Let's take the one from Chris from LinkedIn. My very first show, I brought 4 or 5 people on, and I was really comfortable. We how we just hang out, and I knew I didn't want the topic or anything for the first time. That way there was no pressure to perform. LOL. Yes, it's definitely, I would say it's kind of brave to bring like 5 people into the conversation, and we'll definitely cover that a little bit later, how like the more guests you have, the more challenging it is to manage them and also to coordinate and prep. So if you're brand new and don't have a lot of experience with live streaming, I would recommend starting maybe with one guest, because it's just a little bit easier to manage. But definitely panel discussions and conversation is where we're going with this. Like, this is the great opportunity of turning your live show into a panel discussion. But instead of sticking only with people who are on screen, on camera with you, you can also include your chatters and viewers into the convo, which is what we're doing right now.
It's very true.
Awesome.
Let's see. We also have another person saying hello. That's wonderful. Hello, Sebastian. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, and I see Madeline is also from YouTube, and she's saying, if the host has internet issues during the stream and gets kicked out, is it possible for the guest to continue streaming, or does the stream just ends once the host is kicked out? This is a beautiful question, Madeline. Sean, do you want to take that one?
Certainly. So there is a system that is going to protect the stream itself when there is a guest presence. It also, in some level, will, as long as you're live streaming at the time and you need to refresh your page or you have only a momentary internet interruption, the studio itself is going to maintain that session. It's going to hold it open for several minutes to allow you to return in case the internet was just a moment or you just needed to refresh your browser for whatever reason. If you have a guest, it'll last even longer. Having a guest or a co host in your session person is going to maintain that connection for a very long time. That way, if there's a situation where you need to drop out and then come back a couple minutes later, no problem. That session's going to continue. That's a beautiful aspect of the Restream Studio, due to the fact that the server itself is what's running the show, and we're all participants in that session.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you do have a little bit of time. Of course, we always recommend to make sure your internet connection is good before you engage into big deal live shows, lots of guests and lots of viewers. But yeah, if that happens, you do have that extra protection. So that's awesome. I love this question from Thomas because it is a perfect segue to what I wanted to talk next, which is how to prepare your guests for the live show. But we'll take it from Thomas here. He says, I didn't have guests until now, and but I could imagine to interview testimonials, which is, by the way, absolutely a killer and stellar use case for live streaming with guests. If you have a client, a customer, or someone who is using your product or service in a wonderful way and you wanted to feature them so other people can learn about their great experience, interviewing them live and allowing your community and your audience to ask questions directly to your customers so they can hear it from them, not from you. It's a great way to market whatever you are offering. So Thomas is saying, but they're often not so familiar with streaming, which is absolutely common. If you are selling certain types of services and products, your users and your customers might not necessarily be pro live streamers. So, what are the important points that you want to cover when you're preparing them for this shenanigan, right? Yeah, it can be scary, it can be intimidating. Luckily, we have an answer for that. So, I will start with sharing a really cool blog post that we recently, and I'm going to just drop it in the comments here. So it's going to go on our Facebook and our YouTube channels, but I will also add it to our LinkedIn in the comments just so you guys can see that. Good stuff. So we will cover just a little bit of that, but it's like an extensive list of things that you would want to make sure that you consider. And here's Sean sharing his screen to show like some things of that. So the list includes some must-haves. So there's certain things that you guess just absolutely needs in order to allow you to have a successful stream with them. Number one is, of course, good internet connection. So, as I always say, there's very little room for poor internet in the world of live streaming. So, if your guest is not connected and or their speed or bandwidth is extremely low, they're probably going to have issues with quality, and your stream is, in general, probably not going to be very successful. So, that's the number one thing you want to tell them. Hey, test your internet connection. Make sure you find a place where you have somewhat stable connection. Don't join from your mobile phone in the woods when you have, what was that? The pre G4, the E type
Oh,
internet.
hmm.
Like, don't let them do that because it's not going to be a good experience, neither for you nor for them. They'll probably be stressed out and your viewers will not have a good time. So, internet connection is the king. And then there are other things that are kind of recommended. So you want them to have somewhat powerful machine. Your guests can actually join from the cell phone. That's not a problem, as long as they have good internet connection. But still remember that this guy is a pretty small device. It's not as powerful as the laptop. So if they have an alternative, they have a choice between laptop and their cell phone, I would always recommend they use the computer. They would probably need some kind of a microphone. It's not mandatory, but for better sound, we always recommend that folks use uh, their their microphones that are not necessarily built into their laptops, and more light better, right? If they don't have professional lights, which most of your guests won't have, at least let them know that they want a lot of light facing them, not behind them, because in that case they'll look a little bit like Darth Vader. We don't want that. So, and of course, there are a lot of nice to haves there as well. They can elevate the quality of the stream by upgrading their cameras. They can think about their background and kind of make sure that it's nice and on brand. Luckily, something like Restream Studio offers virtual backgrounds for both you and your guests. So they can actually change what is happening behind them for real. And maybe Sean can demonstrate that real quick by turning his video into this virtual background. So like that's a workaround. If your guest shows up and you're like, oh my god, there's no way we're going live with this. Like this is not looking good. So you can definitely give them some tips on that, but remember that you always have this extra workaround. And of course, there's some day off tips for success. I would say like the most important part is to tell them like, hey, you guys need to relax, treat that as a conversation with friend, not as a torture or interrogation. This is going to be fun. You get to smile, you get to look in the camera, and overall just have a good time. Be yourself. There's nothing wrong even if you make a mistake. This is live video. It's authentic. That's its power. So own it, love it, and this article is going to be. It's available on Restream blog if you just Google it, checklist from Restream, and I will also add it in the comments to all of our platforms. I see there are lots of questions out there.
Oh,
So let's go ahead and jump in the chat and see what folks are saying.
mhm.
So I see that Sinol is back on YouTube. So all good for her. That's awesome. I share a set of instructions and prep guests before they come on screen. Definitely a good
Oh,
idea. More information you give, better. Um, then there's a great question from Brian. Do guests need to have a certain browser in order to join? Sean, I'll let
hmm.
you. I'll let you run with this one.
It's a great question. And, in almost every situation, we would say that Google Chrome is your friend. We see a lot of success in using Google Chrome on desktop computers, laptops. The situation where there is a bit of a caveat to that is if you're joining on an iPhone. With an iPhone, you will need to use Safari. And don't have any fear that your guests are going to get confused on that. If your guest does choose to try and access the Restream Studio from Chrome on their iPhone, we're smart. We'll show that guest that they need to transition quickly over to Safari for the best success. And that'll give them the ability to connect their camera and their microphone successfully on an iPhone. That is a restriction that Apple uses to maintain privacy and security for their users. So we have to also conform to their requirements. But when you're using Google Chrome on a PC or on a Mac as a desktop or laptop computer, that's going to give you the best possible experience with the best feature access.
Awesome. Very true. A couple more awesome questions here in the chat. I'm going to take one from Madeline. One more. I love that. They're like, one more. You can ask as many more as you need. We are here for you. This is the show for you guys. So ask us anything you need to know. If you're streaming a video file and the host gets kicked out, will the video continue to stream if the guest is there, or does the guest basically have to take over and upload the video? So it's an interesting question. I would love to see like your setup and like how you go about streaming a video, because there are several ways how you can stream a pre-recorded video with Restream. Number one is using our upload and stream feature, which is awesome, and that basically allows you to upload your recorded video in advance, select the time and date when it's going to go live, and then go and have yourself a margarita, because everything else will be done by Restream. It's completely automated. It will start on time even if your computer is turned off, your internet is down, and you are on your way to Mars. Like literally, you don't have to do anything. We'll just take care of it. A lot of people use that feature in order to have stress-free lives, right? The video is recorded, it's always right. You cannot make any mistakes there, but you are also available to jump in the chat and communicate with your audience by just typing the answers to their questions or comments. Super cool thing, excellent hack to have more live videos in less time. Now, if you're not, so if that's what's happening, then pretty much nothing, unless there's a problem with the video as it was uploaded or there's some kind of major issue with our servers, nothing is going to stop this video from playing. Now, if you're using a different route, which means that you're actually starting a live stream, you're live, you're real, just like we are right now with Sean, and then you're playing a video in the middle of your stream, then it is still going to be subject to your internet connection. So if something goes wrong with your internet connection, basically your video, just like you, will stop because you don't have your internet anymore, and basically that feed stops functioning. If in the same setting you also have your guest, the same rule applies as Sean mentioned earlier. You do have a little bit of time to reconnect. During that time, your guest can run the show. They can continue entertaining the people. And yes, they can also share a video from their local computer, so they can upload something and start playing it. But remember that if the host is gone, your guest only has a limited time to kind of like keep the show running. And then eventually, if you don't come back, unfortunately, the stream would end. Is that more or less right, Sean, or did I ruin it?
You're very correct in that the guest is going to hold the session open for quite a while. I mean, it's several minutes, if not longer. I don't want to give specifics without the details to back them up, but I do know that the limitation of being a guest only in the studio is going to prevent them from being able to control the sources or the content that's visible in the preview window, and then also going out to the destination. So if the host is gone, it's really important that that host comes back relatively quickly to maintain the content visibility that we're looking for in that situation. Now, of course, if that guest is also a co-host or a member of that person's team, that's going to give that guest a higher level of access, potentially high enough to be able to control components like the sources, the video playback, and who the guest is that's currently visible at any given time. Those are controls that are available through the teams and the co-hosting features of Restream, which is just exactly what we're doing just right now.
Yes, that's actually a very good point, Sean. If you are thinking that you might need a little bit of help and like an extra protection because your internet connection is a little bit flaky, you might consider having a teammate. And in that case, you're both having the same rights and privileges as hosts. And then if something goes wrong with your video, as long as your co-host or team member has access to that same video, they'll be able to start it and continue playing it for your viewers, and your viewers should notice a thing. This is really good insight. Thanks for sharing. Question from Paul, which is also a love letter, which is something that I personally appreciate and love a lot. Thank you so much, Paul, for sharing. He says, I love the blog and I share portions of this with every team before an event, regardless of their experience level. It's like packing, always good to have a list. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that this is helpful. And actually, another question for you guys for the chat. If there's any other listicle or list or some kind of like a template or summary that you would like Restream to create for you that would be helpful and would serve you well, let us know in the comments and we will channel that directly into our content team and blog. And I promise you, you'll see that content very, very soon. All right. Another great question from Rob here. I've got a live stream tomorrow night. Awesome. My guest and I will be streaming to our respective channels simultaneously. Will you be doing a walkthrough of that feature? Yes, this is coming right next. After we address a couple of questions here, we will do a demo of how to. We covered the questions of around preparing your guests and managing them when you're live. The next thing that's going to happen is we're going to show you how to stream on your guest channels. So that's exactly what's happening. So hang on tight, Rob. This is next. There's a quick question from Willie here. On Restream chat relay icon, can that be changed to another icon so it doesn't look like a bot on the picture? I believe this is the question about like when you are responding from Restream channels, like what that shows the Restream icon on your end platform. So unfortunately, we can't change that because that's the setting on of the end platform. Sean, do you have any recommendations for that? I know users ask about that quite a bit.
Definitely. And Restream Relay is a beautiful and unique feature that does provide a continuity between the different destinations on your streams. So if you're streaming to Twitch and YouTube at the same time and an excellent question comes through on Twitch, the relay is going to go ahead and bring that message also over to the other platform so that it's visible for everyone. That way the conversation you're having makes a little bit more sense and the continuity is held between the different platforms. Not all platforms support bot messages, so you won't see these bot messages coming through on Facebook, but on basically all the other channels you will. And your question about the ability to change the graphical interface or what the actual emoji style icon is with the relay, that is not possible to change. But I will let you know we have an open request available in our support team where if you contact support and ask them to add your name to the list of people who have requested that feature, if it does become a possibility in the future, you'll be the first to know.
Awesome. And quick follow up from Madeline regarding the uploading and streaming videos. Is this feature available for free? That is our professional plan feature. So you do not need the premium plan to access that. It's our 49 a month one. But yeah, if you unlock that feature, that allows you to schedule up to 10 videos, and each video can be up to 1 hour long and up to 2 gigabytes heavy. So definitely give it a try. All right. So I know there are like more questions there. So should we go ahead and just to make sure that we are on track with our quick demo, let's go ahead and show how you can expand your audience by connecting your guest channels. And I will basically start with a very quick why, like how you're gonna stream, like why would you want to do this? And I know that some people already asked that question, and while Sean is getting ready to demo that, the main reason why you would want to go live on your guest channels is because you want to expand your audience and you want to tap into the communities of people that you are inviting to your live streams for a conversation, right? So imagine if my audience is 100 people and then I invite Sean as my guest and we're streaming together and he has his own 100 people. Potentially we're reaching 200 people. That doubles my views right away. If I have more guests and more of them at channels, great, that multiplier goes up. If Sean happens to have multiple different destinations with lots of communities, different ones on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, that again dramatically expands my reach. So some great use cases for that is high profile guest with big community or any kind of collaboration with another partner who has their own community, but the content you guys are building is relevant to both of you. So we are going to go ahead and show you how that works. So I'll just go ahead and pull you in, Sean.
Thank you
And
for that
here we go.
introduction. So there's two places in our service that you're able to directly access the pairs function. And there's also help center guides available for all of these special features so that you can gain access to it. The pairs feature specifically is going to be connected to the guest functionality, which makes sense. That's a logical connection because when you're inviting somebody to your stream, they may also want that functionality of being able to connect their personal or professional social media channels to the stream as well. So you control that as the creator of the session or the stream or the event, and by doing so, you can go down here to the same guest icon you would use to invite the person, and you'll see that there's an automatically going to be this additional piece of information here where it says guest can add their channels to this stream. That's the sneaky way we are describing the functionality of the pair. So when you leave this checkbox green and you copy the URL, when you send it to the guest, they're going to see a prompt that asks them to go ahead and sign into their Restream account and select the channels that they would like to also be streaming to during this session. Now, this is an ad hoc studio session here. I just went to the Restream dashboard and clicked Stream with Studio. That's how you get to this page. If you're planning this event in the future and you're working with your guests and your co-hosts to be able to create this content and you're advertising and you're producing this media for the future, you'd most likely want to rely on a Restream event. I went ahead and created a demonstration version of this that's set to go live later on today. So after I've created the session or the event, excuse me, in the Restream events function, you're going to want to go down here to the very bottom where it has a very similar icon as we just saw on the previous page. You'll click on this plus person icon and you'll see once again where there's the URL you can copy at the top and the pairs functionality where it also says allow your guests to stream to this event on their channels. You can do that by leaving this checkbox green. By default, it's activated because we love this feature and we think you will too. Once you've copied this URL, you'll want to send it to your guest. I'd recommend along with the Getting Started guide or the How to Have a Successful Experience in the Studio guide. One other side note, you can pair a session that isn't using the Restream Studio. This could be beneficial for you if you're creating content in an encoder like OBS, Ecamm, or even from a session in Zoom that's connected to your Restream account. What that's going to look like is slightly different. You'll notice that it has RTMP settings here for this event, but it has that same functionality. The push the button and you can gather the link for the pairs URL. In this case, the functionality obviously would not be there because you're not using the studio session. However, you would still have the ability to gather the URL so that you can share that with somebody who wants to stream to their personal or professional social media channels as well.
Beautiful. And it actually goes well with some questions about pre recorded streams. So, even if you created a stream where you are uploading a video file that you recorded in advance, that same option that Sean just demonstrated for content that you can create through OBS is going to be available still, which means that someone else can connect their channel seamlessly and easily with your stream, even if it's a pre-recorded video that you scheduled and uploaded through Restream. So that's pretty cool. Basically, there are limitless opportunities for your coworkers, partners, brands, friends, whoever is interested to kind of add on their channels to the event and allow their communities to see those events live. Uh, cute little note, this functionality is unique to Restream. No other streaming service that exists as of today allows or offers anything like that. So that's another cool part of that's very unique, Restream only. So that's why we're very proud of this feature and very happy to share it with you guys. I think, let me see if I have it here, but I do believe that I have a video or like a little flow for guests. Like, how does it look for your guests when they receive that link? And if not, we will just demo it real quick. Alrighty, so yeah, that was kind of like a very quick graphic demonstration. But basically, what happens when people receive that link that Sean was demonstrating? All they need to do is click it. It's going to show them a little bit of about the event, what time, when it's happening, a little thumbnail, and then they'll be able to either create a new account if they're not restreamers yet, or log into their existing account, select the channels where they want to use to amplify your event, and then that will create the same event card in their account just like you would have for your upcoming event. And that's it. And then after that, they can just check out of this and just remember. They can also add it to their calendar. That's something that we offer as one of the steps. And then once the event comes, they can either join the studio or they can just let it be and let it run on their channels. Let's see. I think Sean has a little demonstration here.
I do. I see that there was a question asked about whether or not it's possible to change the description of a channel after the event has been created. It is possible to do that. To answer your first question, no. Once the event is created, the date and time is locked in. However, the question about the description, totally possible. What you'll want to do is actually open the session here. So I'm back at the events page on Restream, and you go to the pencil icon. This is our edit icon. You select on the edit icon, and then you'll want to go to the actual posting itself. So this is YouTube. I created this event for this purpose exactly so that I could demonstrate these types of things. So if you click the edit button for the exact destination you're wanting to change, and you could do this with all of your channels if you needed to, go in and actually edit it to say demo starts soon. And then when you click the save button, it's going to reach out to YouTube and make that modification directly. That is going to be something that's an instant change, and it can be done as many times as necessary to make the content be exactly what you want it to be. If I had added other destinations like Facebook and Instagram, they have their own rules. So you would be able to change some aspects of Facebook. Unfortunately, LinkedIn is not at the same level of configurability, so you wouldn't be able to go in and make modifications on Restream's side to make that change available on LinkedIn's end platform. But you can make some modifications directly on LinkedIn. I wouldn't recommend it though. I'd leave it as it is if you can. I mean, if need be, even go so far as to recreate the event if it's something you just created moments before.
Absolutely. I would say this is probably your best bet for something like this. If you realize that, like, oh no, I totally didn't mean to schedule this for noon. It was supposed to go at 10 a.m. and the event has just been created. You do your best option is to just delete that event and start over, because that's the only way we can guarantee that like nothing is going to get confused. So you can make some modifications, but generally, in my experience, if you spot it early on, just recreate the event. And yes, if it's just the textual changes, then definitely you can edit them through Restream dashboard or on AMP platforms very easily. Awesome. All right. So, of course, we have some comments about pairs, such an amazing feature. That's really great to hear. Thank you so much for saying that. And I also wanted to very quickly demonstrate one thing about pairs, that sometimes we get those questions asked, like, oh, what if I actually don't want my guests to pair? How do I
Hmm.
make sure that, like, oops, sorry, it should be here. If I just want guest to join me and like no channels are required to connect. That is still a possibility. Remember that we offer pairs because we believe that that's going to boost your reach and exposure, but you don't have to use them. And just like Sean was showing, if you're using this invite guest link, that toggle off, see how that changes the link. I'm just going to zoom it real quick here. See how like toggling it on and off does mass with this letters and like endless line. So it's going to be a different link if your pairs toggle is disabled, and in that case, your people can simply join. No creation of account required. No connecting channels. They can just simply be on camera with you. So that option still exists then and there. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and look into our chat and take some more awesome questions. So there were some questions that were not necessarily related to pairs, but we'll still take care of them. Of course, we're here for you guys. So whatever you need to know. Eddie's asking, most of the time when internet connection drops for a while, Facebook reconnects with the same link, but YouTube doesn't. Is that something that can be fixed on YouTube? Sean, what are your thoughts on this one?
Hmm. We are tied to the functionalities of the end platforms, and each of them has a slightly different flavor of how they handle interruptions or changes to the content itself. I would say that unfortunately, we are not able to offer an additional extension or connection option to an existing event that's already passed. However, in most cases, depending on what the interruption is caused by, Restream does communicate to the end platform that there was an interruption or some kind of computer or internet related issue that caused the disconnect or the stream to be stalled or end. That is the key that then allows the end platform, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, to make a decision as to how to handle this situation. In most cases, we hope that the decision made by the end platform is to maintain the connection and to allow for a simple and easy restart, but it is a little bit outside of the reach of Restream to choose what the end platforms do in this situation. This is where the stream using the Restream Studio is so important because in most cases, internet connectivity issues connected to your session or the host and the guest is not going to end the stream itself because of the stream actually originating from our server. So I'm very curious if this is a situation where you're using the Restream Studio or if you're using your own encoder, maybe like a software or a hardware solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. And I will go ahead and get another question here from this is about local video file, which is also another great feature. Jason, I'll call you Jason, says, I tried to play local video file on my PC using this feature. The video starts great, but experience startling while in the middle of the playback. So local video file, I'm just going to give you a little like distinction between local video file and upload and stream. Those are two slightly different technologies. So when you play a local video file, you what happens is you play the video from your computer, right? So basically what happens is during your live stream, Restream has to get access to your video, and then it starts kind of like uploading it to Restream, and then from Restream it spreads it out to all your social platforms. So it does happen occasionally, depending on the power of your machine and depending on the quality of your internet connection, that the local video files can get a little bit tricky. The best way to avoid and to ensure the quality of your pre-recorded video played in the middle of the stream is to use our upload and stream feature. It is a paid feature, so it is available on professional plan and higher, but you get massive benefit from pre-uploading that video in advance. So what it does is basically the video is already living on our server, and what you do is you click a little plus sign. Maybe I'll share real quick Sean's stuff, so maybe Sean can demonstrate that,
Mhm.
like how you go there. Um, oh, I guess I'll have to hide. Yeah. So you just go to your video storage, and then from here you can select the video, and then it will play in the middle of your stream. So here it is, appears on your side, and then once you toggle that in, you can pick any layout that you want, and it's going to play in the middle of your stream. And you can provide commentary on top of that. You can talk over it. You can pause it. You can mute it, like whatever you need to do with it. This is a lot more powerful in terms of like how you can handle this this business request, because you are already using the video that's uploaded on our server. So the quality is going to be much better, and you have a lot more functionality. Local video file is a workaround. It's something that's available in our free plan, so you can still do that. But it is not uncommon for it to have a little bit of quality issues, especially if your machine is not super powerful and the internet connection is not super good. So that's just something for you to keep in mind.
A little
All
tip
right.
of information there as well. It's playing the raw version of the video that you're using in the browser itself. So if the video is a high resolution video, it's going to take more resources to play the video. So if you plan ahead just a little bit, make sure your content is at the level of quality that your computer can easily play. In some cases, it's actually a good idea to down transcode the video quality down to 720p instead of 1080p to allow your computer to have a little bit of an easier time to play the video because your computer is doing the heavy lifting in that situation.
Amazing. Yes. All right. So I'm going to take another quick question from Sinod. Will changing the date and time be something that Restream will add, since re-uploading and recreating the event with stream description and photo, of course, can be a little bit of a hassle. 100% agree with you. I do think that that's something that we might look into deeper. I do believe that there are certain limitations of end platforms that don't allow us to do that. Like LinkedIn is actually a great example. It's not necessarily how we build the feature, it's like what LinkedIn allows and doesn't allow us to do. I know you mentioned that some other platforms allow that. It kind of depends on what platforms you're referring to. There are certain webinar platforms that are just completely different creature altogether, right? Like we're not a webinar platform, we're a social live video platform. So we have like different technology behind the hood, and it's just something slightly different. But I do think that your request makes perfect sense, so we will definitely bring it up to our product team and see if there's something we can do to improve the quality of life for folks who do need to make changes and edits, because it makes perfect sense. Sometimes you make a mistake, sometimes things just change, sometimes that's just how you flow, right? Like you need to make sure they have that flexibility. So totally understandable. Thanks for that question and thanks for that request. We will take it to our product team. And here is the question from the Great Escape podcast.
Ooh.
This is about YouTube and Twitter, two platforms that are extremely popular. We stream to both, and right now, the chat interaction on YouTube is working well, but Twitter not so well. Is there a known issue? So, Sean, I'll let you take this one because yes, there is a little bit of an issue with Twitter chat.
Yes, absolutely. So Twitter recently made a transition, and by recently, it's within the last year, transition between Periscope and the new Twitter platform. And if you were watching their recent news updates, they also produced a new product that's coming out that's replacing the Twitter Media Studio. But that's a totally different conversation. But what we do know is that Twitter is evolving fast and they are working to include new features. The features we've personally requested that they work on improving is the ability for Restream and third party services like ours to be able to connect to the chat functionality. That's a huge win for Restream and all of the other people who are streaming on their platform to be able to have that integration. It's not ready yet. They're still working on fixing any of the bugs and things that might prevent it from being something that's not enjoyable because they only release high quality integrations. So they want to make sure it's perfect first. And along with that, we're hoping that they'll also include additional analytics so that we can gather information from Twitter that include things like viewership and followers, these types of things that are really engaging and can also be used to turn into a money making opportunity for people who are paid based on how many views they receive. We love to be able to provide all that information from Twitter into our analytics and chat functionality, but it's not ready yet. We're hoping soon.
Amazing. Yes, totally. And a couple of questions from our Facebook community. Uploading video works, but it takes a little bit of time to upload. Well, that depends on the quality and size of your video. The bigger the video, the longer it takes to upload. I use that feature a lot for my really small, kind of like bite-sized content. So a lot of my videos are 3 to 5 minutes long, and that's a bliss that they take seconds to upload. Of course, if you're uploading a big file and it's multiple hours, of course, it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's basically us transcoding it and getting it ready to go and to work great, just like you mentioned in the comments. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yes, if you're using upload and stream, you got to plan a little bit of time in advance to let that video to process before you can push it live. And then also from that same Facebook community, the question about LinkedIn chat, is it coming soon or ever? Could you please elaborate on that? Because I know that LinkedIn chat is integrated with Restream and it works fine. We just highlighted a bunch of comments from our LinkedIn followers. So just let us know what exactly you mean about the option for LinkedIn chat that you are missing today. We would love to address that. All right. Great question from Juan. I just want to make sure we address that at all. And it's kind of like a two-sided question. So we use Restream to push our stream key through Vimix program. So that's an encoder similar to OBS. We usually chat with our viewers on Facebook and YouTube in the separate platform. So I see exactly what you're doing. It's like separate tabs, and you have like two different people doing the chat interaction in those different communities. Nightmare. Does Restream have metric and data on communication? And again, there's a clarification here. To be clear, we communicate in a chat for Facebook and YouTube through Restream, but we aren't using the Restream Studio. Okay, so you're basically using the chat application. So yes, so you want to use the Restream chat for that in order to communicate with all those users in one place. Because, like I said, opening multiple tabs and like having to control those things separately, not cool, not convenient. And the worst part is that those users won't be able to see like the chats of each other. And if you're using something like Chat Overlay, then you can collect all those comments and everyone can see what people are saying on different platforms, which is super cool. In terms of analytics, or like is there any metric on or data on that communication, you do have access to Restream Analytics, and it's going to give you a counter of chats. So it's going to tell you how many people chatted and who were your most active chatters on each platform. But that's kind of what the analytics on chat are limited to today. We would love to hear ideas of what would be more helpful. Like, what other metrics are you trying to track from the chats? So please let us know. And I'm just going to let Sean show you where you can find this analytics stuff on your chat. Here we go.
Absolutely. So when you're going into your Restream dashboard, on the far left-hand side is the option to access your analytics, and I'll go all the way through so you can see it. This session that we're streaming right now is actually streaming through my social media platforms as well, through the exact system we were just talking about, the pairs functionality. I paired my channels to Anya's stream. So when I go into my account, I can even see right now the chat analytics that are happening. So I can scroll into here and actually see that there's been 3 messages so far. I can see when those messages happened from the channels that I paired on the account. And also you can see additional details like what the message count was, number of chatters. These types of details are visible because the messages left the end platform and came to Restream. With that as well, because of some channels not having functionality for chat, you'll notice that maybe all of the channels aren't here. That's normal. You won't see channels that don't support chat on the chat tab, but you would still be able to see them in other places like the monitoring and those types of things. We also offer trends, which is just fun to look at and to be able to see kind of who the top chatters were and those types of things. So that's kind of fun to be able to see and give compliments and actually engagement maybe in response to these people later on to say thank you for coming in and being my top chatter. So it's kind of fun.
Yes, amazing. Absolutely. And a quick follow up from the Facebook community. Sorry, Amanda, I cannot respond to LinkedIn chat from Restream. Yes, there is a limitation in terms of which platforms you can respond in the chat. And unfortunately, LinkedIn is still one of them. That's the API limitation on LinkedIn side. We are working very hard to make sure that we fix that with them. So hopefully at some point they will allow us to send the chats and messages back. The easiest workaround for this one is to just respond to questions with your voice, right? Basically, what we do right now, we're taking the chat questions and then we demo, we talk about the comment. That's the easiest way to address that. If you do have a co-producer or another team member that works with you, they might have the capability and the bandwidth to open that additional tab and then send links if that's what you're trying to do, to send certain links, to send certain messages that people have to click on. But yeah, that's something that we are hoping that LinkedIn is going to improve very soon. Very, very good question. Thanks for bringing that up. Amazing. All right. So are we ready for our crazy part?
I'm
So,
ready.
me too. So, Sean and I thought about this before we went live, and we decided that since we're talking about guests and since we're talking about pairs today, we would like to give you the opportunity to experience the like how it feels to be a guest in our show. So, what I am going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and invite a guest or you to our show. So if you want to join our live stream with your video, radio style, and ask us a question or provide any kind of comment in real time right now, today, I am going to go ahead and drum roll, drop the link to this event in the chat. And I'm also going to do that in LinkedIn. And if you guys want to, you can just simply click that link. And I hope I did it right because I just used my guest
Mhm.
and link. I think it should be working. Let me know if it's not working because I totally just um we just came up with that. So we didn't plan for that. But we are welcoming anyone who is going to click that link. We are going to wait for you to show up radio style. And if you click it, if you connect Uh, I love how the Grace Q says, LOL, that can be dangerous. Well, we're going to like the reason why we're doing that is we want to encourage you to be brave and sometimes do that as well with your community. Luckily, as a host, you have control before you pull the person in. You can relatively easily just kick the person out if you feel like this is not something that you're willing to move forward with. But we encourage you to be brave, and that's why we decided that the best way to do it is to be brave ourselves. And we invite you to join in and just ask a question. We'll pull you in with your video. You can join from your phone. You can join from your laptop. You can actually join without camera. So something for you to consider if you're just thinking, oh my gosh, I don't look uh, my best. I'm not ready to be part of the Restream show right now. You can still click that link, just turn off your camera, and you can ask a question only with your voice and with your avatar. So let's see if we have any takers. I see like people are saying we love that, but no one is clicking that link, which is really fun. Let's um, but we'll give you a moment. And I see that I think it's the link is not there on my personal LinkedIn account. I'm going to drop it in just a second. That is actually a very brave community right there, so I'm pretty sure
Mm.
that's gonna help us out. Someone from my personal LinkedIn community will definitely be like, yeah, that's me. I'm coming in. That's awesome. And in the meantime, folks are saying, I love Restream. This is awesome. Love it. Okay, here we go. We have our first taker. Let's do it. All right. Hello, Latishka. How are you?
I am well. How about yourself?
Oh, very good. Now that you're here,
Well, this is something new. I said, well, look, we're going to try something new. I'm going to help you try your new thing out so you can have proof of life.
Amazing. Look at you. You're here and you also have your virtual background and like you're demonstrating how easy it is to include your community into the conversation. This is awesome. Do you have a question for us?
Uh, I don't. I just really wanted to see was the link going to work because I also do a podcast. And so knowing that it's actually up and running is a great thing for me.
oh,
Absolutely.
it's not just running. You look awesome, and I really love the virtual background you selected. That is my favorite. Every time I use that background, a small part of me is like, why can't I be at a house that has a pool? I want a pool in my life real bad, and the only one I have is the virtual camera.
And look, I use my creative mindset to say this is where I'm headed.
Oh, it's
I'm
all it's
headed to this
all
pool in the back.
all
You
up
know.
here. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining in. And I see like now people feel a lot more brave. They're like, where's the link? I'm a
There we
taker
go.
too.
So
So
you
you
have to go on and
inspired.
jump. You have to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. You inspired people. Well, thank
You're
you so much for joining
inspirational.
us today. You're so
You have a
inspirational.
blessed day.
You
You too.
too. Thank you. You see how easy it is. Okay, so we're actually ready for another taker. Like if anyone else wants to do it, you can. You can jump in. And I see, yeah, like some folks in the Restream community might be needing it as well. I'm going to drop it in just a minute, but Sean, feel free to
Yes.
pull
Absolutely.
in
I'm
our
going to pull in
next
Jalil.
guest.
Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining with us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Can you hear me?
Hear you
Yes, we
loud and
can.
clear.
Look at your
I
camera.
love
Oh my God.
Restream.
What are you using? This is beautiful. Look at your your crisp and yeah, your camera looks great.
Yeah, thank you. I've got Logitech 920. I got some newer lights.
Ah.
I've got the seat back green screen and a 4K background, and I use VCam to do the virtual background.
Oh, that's a beautiful setup. Using the virtual camera, you also have a powerful computer to back all that up with because it
Oh
is
yeah.
basically running two encoders at the same time to make that functionality happen. But man, is that a crisp image ever? That is just awesome.
Yeah, I love Restream. I'm actually partnered with you guys, and I recommend it every chance I get because I started doing video stuff kind of in 2009, and I had the big green screen set up and the big lights that broke all the time, and then I had to edit. But Restream just makes it easier for me to like go from lounging on the couch to come sit on my setup and join the stream. Like it's awesome. So if you guys haven't used it already, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Oh, I love that. That's such a
Thank
positive
you.
message. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is awesome. Well, we do have a couple more people who are joining in, so we are going to pull in a couple more takers. Let's go ahead and bring Enrique in here. Hi there. Welcome to the stream. This is awesome. Well,
Hey,
we do have a couple more people
wow.
who are joining
You
in,
you
so
have
we
the
are
same
going
pool
to
as the
pull in
last
a
person
couple
did.
more
That's pretty
takers.
awesome.
Go ahead and bring
I
Enrique
know.
Totally. In
I'm
here.
just checking how it goes.
Hi there. Welcome to the
There's
stream.
a Do you still have a YouTube open or wherever you
Yeah,
joined
it
from?
sounds
I'm
like you
hearing
have
a
one of
little bit
the.
of an echo in the
Yes, you have the
background.
same pool as the last person did. That's pretty awesome.
Right? Uh-huh.
I'm gonna just like make so this is one of the things you can do with your guests. If you have a little bit of an issue like this, you can actually silence them or like control their volume. So I just made Enrique a little bit less um, loud because he definitely has our stream going on. We can hear ourselves, and I'm sure you guys can do that too. But yeah, this is great. Thank you all for joining. Oh my god, we have two more people who are here. This is so cool, and we are so yeah. Just like hang on tight, guys. We are going to pull all of you in so we can demonstrate how guest feature is working awesomely. Enrique, do you have a question for us or any other comment that you would like to provide? Since and again, like
Yeah,
thanks for being brave and tuning in.
I'm going to have a stream soon, and I'm not really using this one. I have an assistant who's using it, so I just caught the live right now, and I said, oh, so this is how it works. All right, so
Yeah.
yeah, at least I know it's easy. You just have to send in the link, right?
Absolutely. Just like we did, we dropped it in the chat. If you're creating an event in advance, you can put it in your calendar. And if not, and if you're brave like we are today, you can just drop it in the chat and then your community can join radio style. This is what we're doing. So
Can,
thank you
can,
so much, Enrique.
one question? Can you
Sure.
share the stream from one community to another Facebook community?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have access to the community, if you're an admin in the group, you can add it as one of your channels. And if your guest owns the community, then they can use the pairs functionality that we demoed earlier. So you can send them the pair link, and then they can pair their communities to your stream to expand your reach into those communities. Absolutely. So that's kind of the point. So yes, you can
Okay.
totally do that.
All right. Thank
Alrighty.
you. I'm now camera shy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's take two more of our folks who are waiting in the room right now. So first will be Timer. How are you? Look at you. Welcome to the
I,
show.
and you what's funny is I don't know why it said timer. I think I had was trying to put a timer video up once, and that's where I came from. But this is fun. Like
Isn't
long time
it?
listener, first time caller, like radio stuff.
If you
So
guys love
good.
it, let us know in the comments. By the way, even people who didn't, who chose not to join, no pressure. Totally understand. Like this is a brave and bold move. We can. I just want to know, like, if this is something that you guys are feeling excited about, if that sounds like a cool thing to do, because we can do more of this radio style questions in the future with product shows that we run. So let us know in the comments if you're like, love it, especially those who watch. Does it add value? Does it make sense? Or you're like, oh, please, guys, don't ever do that again. But I think it's really cool, especially when we're talking about guests. So do you have a question for us, Timer?
I do.
I'm gonna
Sorry.
stick to
So
Timer.
my real name's Harry. So that's I didn't realize it was going to come up that way. So I do have a question, and hopefully it's not too technical. First off, I appreciate everything that you all are doing today. The pairs feature is great. You've given me a couple. Oh, I could do that better. Even with this radio style, with how people are challenged with some of the audio. Do you have integration with like a Cvent? I don't know if you've ever heard of that organization, with the registration and things like that. But is there any way to broadcast through Cvent or integrate with Cvent?
Go
That's
ahead,
a great
Sean.
question. I'm doing a quick Google search here to see what kind of functionalities are available for Cvent. I do see that there's some community articles that have discussed RTMP connectivity where you could send content from Restream to Cvent, or the opposite, go from Cvent to Restream to then distribute to your social media channels. I'm not seeing concurrent details on their help center that indicates that that's possible. However, I would highly recommend contacting their support to see what functionality exists. We also do have some partnerships with other companies that are similar to that functionality, and I would encourage you to kind of look around and see what you can find that Restream does support. That would be a virtual meeting session style like that, whether it's Zoom or some of the other partners that we have that do exist.
And where would I find that? Is that through Restream Help, or how do I access that information, that list of other vendors?
It's a great question. I would contact Restream support. We're available 24/7, and we can direct you to platforms that will be able to meet the needs that you have. A short conversation can result in massive amounts of information download that can get you on the right path.
All right. Thank you very much. You guys are pretty cool. I appreciate it.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
that's so
Oh my
awesome.
God, this
I
is
need like
lovely.
100 of those to be able to just do emojis the right way.
This is
Thank you so much,
beautiful.
Harry.
Bye.
Thank
Have a
you,
great one.
Harry. Appreciate it. And the last one was going to be the Great Escape. The person who said this is dangerous to do
It
this.
is.
And here he is having great camera, perfectly normal background, and like nothing weird going on. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, exactly. But that won't be everybody. This is very brave of you to do this. So yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I've got a question with regards to a holding video stream. So we normally play like a holding video, like most people do, for 5 minutes or 10 minutes before the stream.
Mhm.
I've used the local video to do that. I noticed that you mentioned it earlier about the quality being different. Can you loop a cloud loaded video as part of your going live stream? I've not worked out how to do it. Obviously, with the local video, you can click on the loop link
Mhm.
and it loops it, but I've not seen that for a cloud loaded video. That'd be really useful if you could do that.
That is great feature feedback. We do receive quite a bit of feedback and requests regarding looping for upload and stream videos, and that is actually applicable to both like shorter videos that you are playing, just like what you're talking about, like a little
Yeah.
pre-roll, a little mid-roll, as well as even videos that you want to schedule, like that process that I described earlier when you schedule your stream and go and have yourself a margarita. Some people want to loop those videos as well. This is on our roadmap. We do have that request, and I will definitely add it. I will add your voice and your vote to that. So that's definitely something that you can also upvote in our support chat. We have like feature requests, so don't be shy to add it
Okay.
again or upvote it there, because it makes perfect sense. It doesn't exist just yet, but it is something on our radar, and I'll bring it up to our product team as well. So thanks for sharing. That's a really good use case, and it makes perfect sense that you guys need that.
That's good. This is the third week we'll be using your platform. We love it. Absolutely love it. It's just that easy. We had it up and running within minutes. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's that seamless integration into Twitter, which I know is a bit of a pain. And obviously YouTube's quite easy because everyone uses YouTube, but Twitter's different. And it just was like click, 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 done. It worked. So it's brilliant. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That's so great to hear your feedback.
I don't have a smiley face like Harry did, but yeah. I'll give you a thumb. I'll give you a thumbs
That's-
up instead. So there you go.
That's okay. Thank you. Thanks for joining,
you.
and thanks
Thank you.
for being brave again. So I think this is going to be our show today, Sean. Look at that. Remember in the beginning of the show, we were like, "Is anyone even going to show up? Do you want to do that?" And Sean is like, "Yeah, let's do it. It sounds great." And here we go. So being brave, being bold, and we saw so many comments there. Sorry, we're kind of like focusing on our guests and like a little bit drop the ball in the chat, but I will come back to those chat messages, especially if you're on Facebook and LinkedIn. You will hear from me again. I'll come back and comment on any questions that we did not have a chance to answer. So please feel free to come back to our Facebook page, Facebook group, or LinkedIn, because YouTube chat has a tendency to kind of like fly away once the stream is over. But if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, please revisit, send us your questions. We'll be happy to come back to them. And this was a wonderful show. I totally loved it. Thank you so much for being brave. Thank you so much for being bold. I invite you to do that on your own live streams and with your own content, because see how engagement can grow if you're doing something a little bit outside of the box. And Sean, I think it is time for a high five, because we did great today.
Oh, whoop, whoop. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Done. Done.
Oh,
We nailed
done.
it.
We did it. It's a
We did it.
success all the way around. Nothing but
Success
wins.
because of you guys. Thank you for joining today. It was a pleasure, and we'll see you in a month on our next product show. Stay tuned, and bye.
Bye.